You ever have that feeling where you find yourself in the same kind of relationship over and over again, even when you know deep down it's just not right? It's beyond frustrating. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into the powerful, hidden forces from our past that are secretly pulling the strings on our choices in love today.
Just let this quote sink in for a minute. Picture this. You're on a date. The person's great, they're charming, but maybe they're a little distant, a little inconsistent. And instead of that being a red flag, you feel this magnetic pull. Why? Well, because, like the quote says, sometimes you're not actually the one making the choice. Your childhood is.
Okay, so let's dive right into that feeling, that strange sense of comfort in something that should be uncomfortable. This is where your brain's wiring comes into play. See, our brains are basically survival machines. They're designed to recognize patterns and seek out what's familiar, because to your brain, familiar equals safe, even if that familiar feeling is pain.
And this is where the real tug-of-war happens inside of us. Your logical mind, your conscious brain might be screaming, hey, this isn't healthy, run. But if you grew up having to fight for affection or dealing with someone who was always hot and cold, your nervous system literally encoded that struggle, that anxiety, that chase as the feeling of love. It became your emotional home, and we're always drawn back home, aren't we?
So this isn't just a bad habit that you can't seem to kick. Nope, there's a really powerful psychological engine driving these patterns. Let's pull back the curtain and see exactly what's going on.
This term right here, repetition compulsion, is a total game changer to understand. It means we're not just masochists out here looking for pain. What we're actually doing is unconsciously restaging old scenes from our childhood. We're casting new people in the same old roles. And why? Because a little part of us, that inner child, still believes that this time we can get it right. This time we can finally win the love we never got.
So, this is the exact cycle that keeps so many of us feeling stuck. It all starts with that early wound. Let's say you had a parent who was emotionally distant. Fast forward a few years, and you find yourself incredibly drawn to partners who are also distant. The unconscious hope there, it's that if you can just get this person to open up to you, it'll finally heal that original wound from your childhood. But of course, it never does. It just rips it right back open.
And this just puts it perfectly. We are fundamentally using the wrong tool for the job. An adult relationship, a partner, they can't fix a childhood wound. They don't have a time machine to go back and give you what you needed back then. And trying to make them is just a recipe for heartbreak for both of you.
All right, so let's get really specific here. How do these old wounds actually show up in our dating lives today? Because once you know what to look for, the patterns become, well, surprisingly clear.
Okay, look at this table. It's incredibly clarifying, right? If your caregiver was unpredictable, you might find a stable, consistent partner kind of boring. And instead, you chase the inconsistent ones because that up and down roller coaster is what you learned love feels like. Or, hey, if you had a really critical parent, you might seek out a partner who's also critical because you subconsciously believe that if you can finally win their approval, it proves you're worthy of love. It's this powerful, hidden logic running in the background. And this slide, right here, it lays out that core conflict perfectly. On the left, you've got what your unconscious brain thinks is love. It's a familiar feeling, a chase, a puzzle to solve, a lot of anxiety. That's what it mistakes for passion. But on the right, that's what your conscious mind knows healthy love actually is. It's about safety, consistency, respect. The real challenge is getting both sides of your brain on the same page.
So, how in the world do we break the cycle? Well, the big shift happens when we stop trying to fix or change our partner and instead we turn that spotlight inward, on ourselves. It all starts with some radical honesty and asking some tough but totally liberating questions.
This is the first and maybe the most important question of all. It really forces you to hit pause and untangle two very, very different feelings. Is this connection actually built on mutual respect and shared values and emotional safety, or is it just built on that old, comfortable, kind of painful feeling of home that your childhood wounds instantly recognize?
Okay, and this next one. This one goes even deeper. Are you really seeing this person for who they are, or have they just become a stand-in for someone from your past? Are you projecting the image of a parent onto them, hoping that if you can just be smart enough or patient enough, you can make them change and finally give you the validation you've always wanted?
And then there's this last question, which is all about opening up new possibilities. For a lot of us, the honest answer is, it might feel kind of boring, or maybe even scary. A healthy, available partner doesn't give you that addictive high from the chase. They offer calm. They offer consistency. And just allowing yourself to sit with that idea, that love can be calm and safe, that can be a revolutionary act all by itself.
All right, let's get to the most important part. How do we actually do this? How do we change things? Because understanding the pattern is step one for sure, but actively rewiring that blueprint, that's the real work.
We absolutely have to talk about this paradox. Your nervous system is so used to the crazy highs and devastating lows of an unstable connection that a secure, calm relationship can feel flat. There's no drama to solve, no affection to win. That spark you always thought was chemistry, a lot of the time it was just anxiety. Learning to find the spark in safety, in consistency, that's the heart of the healing process.
At the end of the day, healing is an active process. You got to do the work. As you can see here, it involves looking at your past, not to blame anyone, but just to understand, to see it clearly. It can mean journaling or working with a therapist to figure out what you truly need. And it all culminates in making that courageous choice to choose the person who is good for you, even when every fiber of your being is screaming to run back to what's familiar.
This quote is just the perfect way to wrap this all up. It is the most empowering takeaway we can possibly have. You didn't choose your original blueprint for love. None of that was your fault. But as an adult, you're the one holding the pen. You have the power to understand that old story, have some compassion for yourself, and then take responsibility for writing a brand new chapter, one that isn't about repeating the past, but about building the future you actually truly deserve.